Despite Biden's new restrictions, the discovery of Willow oil may allow for more drilling in the Alaskan reserve. Just before approving the development of the enormous Willow oil field last week, the Biden administration unveiled a slew of new environmental safeguards to prevent further drilling in the National Petroleum Reserve Alaska. However, according to experts in the field, ConocoPhillips, the owner of Willow, and other oil firms still have a ton of room to expand in the Indiana-sized reserve. It's unclear how much oil development in the reserve will be able to be restricted by the Biden government. The effects on upcoming leasing and drilling are unknown because the Interior Department has not yet disclosed all the limitations it will pursue, according to experts. Future factors, such as predictions of declining oil demand in the years to come, may also influence whether businesses will take the time and money-consuming steps necessary to continue drilling in the reserve, according to them. ConocoPhillips' current leases at Willow and the legal powers those leases grant the oil company have been cited by the Interior Department as justification for approving the project. The day the Willow decision was made, March 13, Interior Secretary Deb Haaland stated in a video that ConocoPhillips' leases, which had been authorized by earlier administrations, had limited decision space for the current administration. Beyond Willow, more than 200 additional leases held by ConocoPhillips and a small number of other oil firms total 10% of the reserve, or 2.3 million acres. Only ConocoPhillips has so far begun operating at a few sparsely populated fields in the reserve's northeastern region, which is where Willow is situated. However, where they control leases, prospects further west and south in the reserve are in the industry sites. In 2021, a ConocoPhillips executive told investors that Willow might become the next great Alaska hub for oil production. The executive also mentioned that Willow's infrastructure could support additional sizable prospects and leads that could hold up to 3 billion barrels of oil equivalent, a unit of energy that could be either oil or natural gas. An estimated 600 million gallons of oil are present in the Willow Formation. According to industry watchers, there is currently room for new ventures in the reserve, which is home to what a federal geologist has suggested may be numerous oil pools outside of Willow. Bill Armstrong, an oil explorer attributed with the oil discoveries in Alaska that led to the discovery of Willow, claimed that as of right now, the environmental protections are not affecting his plans to explore the reserve. His business, North Slope Energy, which is headquartered in Colorado, has submitted plans to look for oil southwest of Willow. Armstrong also doesn't see any effects on the roughly 1 million acres of leases his company owns in the reserve in collaboration with Oil Search Alaska, a subsidiary of the Australian company Santos. The Biden administration's choice, according to Armstrong in an email, was solid. A decent mix. I haven't read the decision's small print, but conceptually, everyone wins, he said on March 13. The domino effect. The administration's strengthened measures for environmental protection in the reserve have the backing of conservation organizations, according to them. However, they add that those don't outweigh the oil project's climate effects, which are among the biggest to affect Alaska in recent memory. Although conservation groups claim the oil company can still access more than 90% of the oil it originally sought, the Interior Department reduced ConocoPhillips' drilling plans at Willow to 3 drilling sites from up to 5 sites in an earlier proposal, in an apparent nod to those climate concerns. ConocoPhillips also consented to give up leases that would cut Willow's area in half, according to Interior. In addition, President Joe Biden removed 3 million acres in the Beaufort Sea just north of Willow from consideration for leasing for oil and gas in the U.S. Arctic Ocean. Unknown is how the government plans to impose stricter regulations in 5 ecologically significant special areas, something that will be planned with an upcoming rulemaking process. The 23 million acre reserve special regions make up about 55% of it, and one of them is the Chippewa Lake region, which is vital for wildlife and Alaska Native hunters. If the scaled-back Willow proposal is approved, both industry watchers and conservation organizations predict that it will result in more development in the reserve. According to Mark Myers, a former leader of the Alaska Oil and Gas Division in the U.S. Geological Survey, if Willow is able to withstand the legal battle, it could serve as a base for further development in the isolated area. According to him, new oil field development in Alaska has traditionally served as a springboard for the development of new fields. He described it as having a domino effect. Conservation organizations have complained about the project, claiming that any findings made in the reserve outside of Willow will prompt further development in the NPRA. The Wilderness Society, a group trying to stop Willow, claims that Willow is the launching pad for a greater industrialization of the Western Arctic. Ben Teitelbaum is the director and senior staff attorney for the organization. The Beaufort Sea action, in the Arctic Ocean, and potential measures to better protect special areas won't be enough to halt the reserve's ongoing oil and gas development, he claimed. Existing lease rights will be preserved, according to senators. Although it has noted some dry holes, ConocoPhillips, which has close to 1 million acres of leases in the reserve outside of Willow, has stated in yearly activity updates that it has made numerous discoveries and is searching for more possibilities there. The oil-bearing geological formation at Willow is believed to extend farther southwestward, facilitating future exploration in the NPRA, where ConocoPhillips is the largest leaseholder, the company stated in a previous statement. ConocoPhillips intends to closely review any proposal made by the Biden administration for new regulations in the reserve, according to Rebecca Boyes, a spokesperson for the company. In a meeting with reporters, U.S. Senators Dan Sullivan and Lisa Murkowski stated that they have received assurances from Biden administration officials that current leases in the reserve won't be affected by limitations in the future. They cannot be handled, according to Sullivan. That'd be stealing. They also promised me that their upcoming relocation in Alaska would not affect those legal leases. In the 5 special areas, which include the Chippewa Lake and Colville River areas, which are close to development activities, as well as 3 other areas that are far from current development, Murkowski said it is unclear how restrictive the extra protections will be. Given the current government, Murkowski said she wouldn't be shocked to see new regulations that are more restrictive rather than less. She said one issue is whether the regulations could stop the building of roads or pipelines in the designated areas. That might put obstacles in the way of growth. Murkowski stated, "I believe we will all be waiting to see this when it gets out, they say, in the next month or so." Before the Biden administration sets out its plans, according to Kara Moriarty, president of the Alaska Oil and Gas Association, it is unclear how oil and gas prospects in the reserve may be impacted. It might imply that you are unable to use the contracts in any way, she said. We require a plan. The regulation must be documented in writing. We must investigate what they are truly recommending. Remote initiatives could be halted by blocked pipelines. According to Myers, a regulation prohibiting pipeline construction near Chippewa Lake could halt future growth in the state's northern coastal waters. In 2016, an oil firm claimed that its find in that region's Smith Bay was one of the biggest oil discoveries ever made in Alaska. However, the idea is so far off that it is uncertain whether or when it would be developed, according to Myers. The possibility of development, there is not currently planned, so Myers questioned what harm it does to obstruct it. Alaska Treasury expects the Willow oil project to cost more than it earns in the initial years while the specifics of upcoming restrictions are unclear. Paul Bledsoe, a former aide who worked on climate issues during the Clinton administration, said the current administration is signaling its desire to decrease the number of leases available. Other factors, such as companies' desire to invest in expensive and complicated Arctic oil projects, which could face more difficulties if oil demand declines as expected, he said, may also have an impact on future drilling in the reserve. Few projects will even come close to Willow's size, according to Bledsoe of the Progressive Policy Institute, a think tank headquartered in Washington, D.C. Interest in long-term safeguards. The Sierra Club wants permanent protection in the unique areas that can't be easily undone by a future president, possibly something like a wildlife refuge, according to Othan Manuel, head of the organization's land protection program. The organization, which is a plaintiff in one of the lawsuits to stop Willow, is pleased that the Biden administration removed the Beaufort Sea from consideration for drilling, according to Manuel, but that is overshadowed by the consequences of approving Willow. In the federal waters of the Beaufort Sea, according to Manuel, there doesn't seem to be any business interest. Closing the offshore to drilling is like closing my bathtub, remarked Larry Persily, a former deputy commissioner of the Alaska Department of Revenue and author of an energy market newsletter. It wouldn't have been created in any case. According to Persily, Biden's announcement was not as detrimental to Alaska's oil sector as it might have been. In Alaska, he predicted that it wouldn't have any instant or short-term effects. The longer-term issue, partly because of the difficulties ConocoPhillips has already encountered, is whether businesses are interested in any new leases up there. If you close off areas that nobody desired, it's like a silent tree falling in the woods, he said. There is potential for substantial oil development to the west and south of Willow, according to Andy Mack, CEO of Kupik, the Alaskan Native Corporation for the community of Nooksack nearby. He added that Kupik, a company that offers support services for oil fields, concurs with the administration's proposed rulemaking procedure and hopes it will result in the Chippewa Lake region receiving the long-term protections the corporation has long sought due to the area's significance for caribou and hunting. The company is willing to consider making accommodations for a community road or even a pipeline in the area, if there is a critical need for such infrastructure, even though the lake must be protected. Mack declared, "We support the project, but we also back the mitigation. The ruling calls out the special environmental benefits of the reserve and Chukuk Lake in addition to the economic benefits of NPRA as a petroleum reserve.